If you feel lost when you listen to French native speakers, it's often because the words pronounced at full speed merge into one sound and end up looking nothing like the words that you see on paper. It could all be down to this letter E. Although it's one of the most popular letters in French words, fun fact, even in a French Scrabble, the game gives us 15 E tiles, as it's found in so many words. However, when it's written, it's often not pronounced. In French, we call it la chute du E ou la lettre caduque. It means the drop of the French letter E or an obsolete letter. Watch this video so I can help you understand when the letter E is obsolete and not pronounced at all. I'll also mention that for the best step-by-step French learning tips and simple explanations, subscribe to my channel, French Speak, and if you hit the bell below, you'll be notified every time I share a new video. So go on, just pause the video and click the big red subscribe button and the bell icon. Ready? At French Speak, we help learners understand French speakers better. And one of the steps is to observe the difference between the written and the oral language. With the E being one of the most common letters in French, it's essential to get this right. The benefits are, numéro un, you'll sound like a real pro when you say sentences, just like native French speakers. And numéro deux, it will help you recognize the sound with more ease when you hear it yourself. One of the biggest challenges with listening and understanding French is that you expect to hear a sentence this long, but it comes out this short. So let's get started with these 5 rules. The very first rule out of the 5 around dropping the letter E is that when the E is placed at the end of a word, you won't hear it. La plage, la fille, la gare, le père, la lettre, la chute. The last sound you heard is the T of chute. We don't say la chute, just one syllable, chute. But if there's an accent on that final E, keep pronouncing it. The silent E rule is only if there are no accents. So you can still say réservé. The second rule is that the E is dropped in conversations between friends, family, in an informal setting, when we use some more familiar register. So this rule will have sentences like je te dis, je le veux, il veut de la place, vous le prenez, nous ne venons pas. And you'll know from my other video about the negatives, we often just drop the ne completely. But here, when we're focusing on dropping the E, you'll quite often just hear a slight N sound, nous ne venons pas. Good news with this is that because it can become quickly impossible to pronounce, when there are more than 3 consonants that we need to pronounce in a row, in that case, we keep the E pronounced in those situations. So you'll see it's nearly impossible to say otherwise. Rule number 3, the third time that we treat the French E letter, une voyelle caduque, that obsolete letter, is a bit less obvious because it happens when the E is in the middle of the word or between 2 pronounced consonants. Par exemple, samedi, boulangerie, heureusement, médecin, lentement, fenêtre, fenêtre, passeport, seulement, changement. But as all good rules in French, there are some exceptions like the word atelier, where we will pronounce the T fully. So we say atelier for that one. Another part of the rule with verbs and E's in the middle of words is it also happens for verbs like acheter, appeler, venir. So we might say, nous pouvons acheter, nous pouvons appeler, nous pouvons venir. Think of those E's in the middle of a word like an apostrophe. Acheter, appeler, venir. In conjugated verbs, for example, in futur simple, you will also see an E in the middle of the verb. Quite often, when we say it, we won't actually sound that E. Par exemple, in future, tu commenceras, you will start. Nous aimerons, we will love. But when we have two consonants pronounced before the T, TR, par exemple, in entrer, we will say nous entrerons, we will go in, without dropping the E after the TR. Honestly, there aren't a huge amount of words that do this. And if you do try to drop the E, you'll see that it's quite a tongue twister. So you'll probably be grateful for that rule. The other type of verbs where you'll find an E in the middle, and is still part of rule number 3, is conditional. So we'll also see this E in the middle of words like je danserai, tu danserais, il danserait, and then the plural, elle danserait. But when we get to nous and vous in conditionnel, we will say the E in those ones. So we won't drop it. Nous danserions, vous danseriez. This is a little quirk of the conditionnel pronunciation to note. So there were quite a lot of rules in numéro 3, rule number 3. So I've time-stamped it in this video. So you can just rewind and rewatch the whole start of the rule number 3 before we move on to numéro 4, rule number 4. And the fourth rule I wanted to bring up is when we drop the E sound, when you don't hear an E in itself, when it combines with other letters and it creates a new sound. So we have E, A, U, E, A, U together makes a beautiful O, le chapeau, la beauté, le château. E and I together, EI letters will give you E, so la neige, le soleil, l'abeille, E in all of those words. And whenever you see E, a double consonant, and E on the other side, we will make an E sound for the first E before the two consonants, and then we'll drop the last E. So it'll sound like une adresse, it's been the last sound you hear, not une adresse. So we have the E, then the S, and that's the last sound we hear. Une adresse, une omelette, we have the E, then the T, and then we drop the final E, and une moyenne. Une adresse, une omelette, une moyenne. Super. That was rule number 4. I also have a video all about letter combinations that I will link up here or here, so that you have access to those, all the combinations that happen with French letters, not just the letter E, because we have quite a lot. Bien. The fifth and final rule is numéro 5. And here, when the letter E won't be pronounced, is for different use. So the E is there to do something else. It's been used to do something else. So sometimes an E will appear between the letters G and A or G and O, and it's there to soften the sound. We add it after the letter G to turn the sound G, G into J, J, a much softer sound. Par exemple, mangeons, pigeon. Nous ne mangeons pas le pigeon. Or mangeait, orgeat. Je mangeais des bonbons à l'orgeat. So you can see that here we don't say gon or ga or ge. For the G, we have that extra E there that is not pronounced as such. It is just there to soften that sound. So voila. There are other spoken French rules too, but I'll only talk about the drop of the letter E in this video to keep it not too long. To help learners like you gain even more confidence in speaking and understanding more French, I've created a very special training called Tricky French Sounds. So you can learn to spot those typically French sounds when you hear them and perfect how you say them yourself. It is free and you can watch it here at bit.ly/tricky French sounds. I'll be sure to put the URL, the link, in the first comment and in the description of this video. Alors voilà, mes amis. Thank you so much for watching. And remember that if you really enjoyed this video, the best way to say j'aime cette vidéo is by giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with another French language lover just like you. Au revoir.